Hello to all my dear followers. Welcome to the 8th chapter of What If Rias Gremory was transported to the world of Naruto. I'm leaving a card in the upper right corner with a playlist containing all the chapters if you haven't seen it. I ask for your comment as always. Enjoy.
Part 51. Mount Myomo-kusen. Naruto and Fukasaku appeared in a cloud of smoke. Being used to it, there wasn't much of a problem, and Naruto looked in amazement at the place where he would have his training. Naruto, amazed, wow, that's really impressive. Pa, cheerfully, alright Naruto-chan, we have limited time so I hope you understand that I will not tolerate incompetence here and now. Naruto nodded with the same determination he was known for. Naruto, determined, if I understand that, I promise to give it my all. The toad nodded, but before he could give any orders or call Naruto's attention, an elderly woman's voice caught the attention of the two of them. Sad-faced cheerfully, Pa, you've arrived. Oh look, you've brought Naruto-chan. How wonderful that I prepared a great feast today. Come on in, don't just stand there outside. Naruto, cheerfully, Shima Oba-san, it's good to see you, it's been a while. Shima, cheerfully, oh come on Naruto-chan, just be lame ma and go ahead, the soup is getting cold, don't make me wait. Naruto nodded and walked away with a big smile, thoughts of a great reason for hot soup making his smile widen. Naruto's smile vanished instantly when he saw the plate that was placed in front of him. Ma, cheerfully, come on, eat, it's cricket and forest caterpillar soup. I also have rice balls stuffed with beetles. Naruto was already turning purple from the smell. Seeing how the old toad was smiling at him, he knew he couldn't say no at this moment. With trembling hands, he broke the spoon and took some of the purple-looking broth along with a somewhat plump caterpillar. Swallowing hard, he put it in his mouth and almost immediately swallowed it, trying not to taste it in the slightest. Out of the house of toads. Dad, sternly, Ma won't be happy about that, you know. Naruto vomited the contents of his stomach near a large leaf. Naruto, pale, I didn't finish it, no, I'm still not used to that taste. The old man laughed at that. Pa, cheerfully, it was a lot, I expected you to like it after all, Jiraiya-chan didn't like the taste either, maybe that's why he never visited this place. Upon hearing the name of the Sannin, Naruto's face regained its seriousness and conviction. Naruto, serious, it's true, we still have a long way to go, and if it took Ero-sennin a long time to learn this method, I must give twice what I have. The wise toad smiled at that as he nodded and guided Naruto towards a source of what Naruto recognized as the oil that Jiraiya sometimes used for his attacks. Without further ado, he concentrated, knowing that it would be a very tough training session. He simply took off his shirt, leaving only his torso, as he settled into a meditative position, grateful to his girlfriend for teaching him those exercises of what she called yoga. Leaf Village. Rias was in her apartment's living room. A few days had passed since her partner left. It had been easy to manage, as she and Tsunade had only worked and trained. Currently, her village leader had given her some time off, as she had improved considerably in her training. Even so, a certain unease settled in her chest. She looked at herself in the mirror. It had been the hardest training she had ever undergone. The amount of chakra her teacher had made her conserve while simultaneously making her expend it was overwhelming. Grateful that, to some extent, she had more than normal, but it was still hard for her. At that moment, looking in the mirror, she clearly noticed the outline of a diamond forming in the center of her forehead, which brought a small smile to her face. Rias, cheerfully, you see, Naruto-kun, yoga and meditation really do help. Without further ado, the girl changed into more comfortable clothes like a sports bra and licorice shorts that accentuated her figure very well. She arranged her blanket on the floor while turning on the television and concentrating for her daily meditation and focus session. Location unknown. Sasuke had rested enough these days in bed thinking about what the newly discovered clan member had said. At this moment he could move on his own. He had read his brother's mission scroll and was annoyed. Right now he wanted to talk to that girl and spoke when he saw her in the living room of the house while she was reading a book. Sasuke, serious, Aika, he continued, noticing how the woman looked at him, you will help me take revenge on Konoha, I will destroy it. Sasuke expected a confirmation or even a more serious face, he didn't expect the girl in front of him to burst out laughing. Seeing Sasuke's seriousness and conviction, Aika couldn't help but burst into loud laughter. Aika, amused, Haha, seriously, haha, what an idiot you are, hahaha. Sasuke, annoyed, you know what happened in the village. Do you think it's okay what the village did to the clan, even to Itachi, all because of greed? Aika put her book aside and shook her head as she walked past Sasuke. Aika, serene, come on, let's go outside, I'll show you the harsh reality. Sasuke growled at her as he grabbed his sword and activated his Sharingan, trying to reason with the girl in front of him. As the girl left, she stood calmly in front of Sasuke and raised 2 fingers. Aika, serenely, the first one to knock the other down twice wins, that's all, that's the only rule. Sasuke scoffed, but in a matter of seconds he was looking at the sunny blue morning sky while the girl sat quietly on his stomach. Sasuke, shock, what happened? The girl laughed as she stood up and raised a finger. Aika, cheerfully, the difference in power is that you are strong, I won't deny that, but you are still blind and don't see reality. Despite living outside, you don't know the world. Sasuke, serious, what do you mean? After what happened, just let it go, let the village get away with their crimes against our family, and just let it go like that for no reason. The girl sighed and shook her head. Aika, serene, there are no crimes, you're making a huge problem out of a village, the actions of 3 old people, and tell me, did you think about anything or just revenge? And your tiny brain can't hold any more information, and that's why you're acting like an idiot ape. Sasuke growled at him and activated his Sharingan. The man unsheathed his sword and lunged at the girl, who just smiled. The blows flew back and forth between the two. Sasuke was already frustrated, no matter how much he attacked, he couldn't do anything. He only saw the conceited smile of that woman, which made him even angrier. Sasuke, annoyed, you're the worst, I'll win this. Aika chuckled as she dodged a slash to her head and approached Sasuke's face, her 3 Tomo Sharingan and a superior smile on her face. Aika, cheerfully, no, you won't. Sasuke grunted when he was hit but simply backed away and just smiled. Sasuke, smiling, I've got you. The man pulled a ninja cable hard, but his smile disappeared and an annoyed growl escaped his lips when the threads meant to bind the woman tied him tightly and he couldn't move. He growled even louder when he saw the girl smiling as she placed a kunai against his neck. Aika, cheerfully, now you understand, right? Then she looks at him seriously, Itachi sacrificed himself for the clan and more importantly for you. Your life can now have a purpose and a future, do you understand? Sasuke, serious, what do you mean, should I let those scum go free without consequences for their actions? Aika, sighs, I understand that, and believe me, what happened hurts me too, but it's a new chapter for our family. Sadly, I also feel the pain of mom and dad's death, as well as my aunt's sacrifice, but our clan is also to blame. And tell me, what would you have done in Itachi's place? Sasuke stopped struggling and pondered the answer in his mind, although the truth was he couldn't see himself in Itachi's position, he didn't have the conviction to risk everything for the village. Seeing Sasuke more relaxed, Aika undid her bonds and sat on the ground. Aika, serene, Itachi left this world with a smile on his face. Sasuke sighed and sat beside her, he entrusted the Uchiha name to you, his younger brother. All of this was his plan and his sacrifice. Looking into his eyes, he died just to save you, like a traitor. Sasuke shuddered at that, he looked up at the sky, still with many doubts in his head. Sasuke, calmly, I understand that, but tell me something, what do you plan to do from now on? I mean, you're not affiliated with anyone. Aika, amused, worried haha, sighs, I don't really know, I've already fulfilled one of my 2 promises in life and I just want to be at peace and not have to hide, it makes me uncomfortable, looking at the sky, it would be nice to have a place waiting for me that I can call home. Sasuke also looked up at the sky and nodded, there was a place where his answers were, and he should go there for his own peace of mind. Sasuke, calmly, get up then, let's go to Konoha. I have questions, and I know that 3 elders know the answers. The girl chuckled as she stood up, she had noticed how Sasuke's eyes changed to a different pattern. Aika, thinking, thank you Itachi-sensei, even in death you will give me a home. The girl smiled a little, being a shadow was not to her liking and she always wanted security and comfort in her life, knowing now that thanks to Itachi she could have some of that. Sasuke entered the house noticing Karen sitting on a sofa reading a few medical books, Yugo was at the window while some birds stepped on his shoulders and Manso and Suigetsu was on the floor while polishing his sword. Sasuke, calmly, we're leaving. Everyone looked at them, I need to get answers in the Leaf Village. You're free to choose which path to follow if you wish. Karen, cheerfully, oh, calm down Sasuke-kun, actually you're already late, a trip for 2 around the world sounds great, looking at Aika with a frown, don't take it the wrong way but it would do you good to get out once in a while, you know, to see the world. The girl chuckled as she walked toward the room. Aika, cheerfully, okay Sasuke, I'll just pack a few things and we can leave. Karen's eyes widened at that. Suigetsu, cheerfully, I'll go, you're lucky and maybe I'll see one of my swords along the way. Karen was already devastated by that. Yugo, calmly, you are my cage Sasuke, I don't want to kill anyone else, I know you will contain me. Sasuke nodded and Karen just collapsed on the ground. All her dreams of traveling with Sasuke and even finding a nice village to settle in were shattered in her mind. Upon seeing this, Sasuke simply sighed but didn't say much as he helped his clan member pack. It was a long journey from here. Leaf Village. The group known as the 12 Rookies were at this moment sitting in a training field watching seriously as Shikamaru who, upon seeing them all, nodded. Shika, serious, okay, everyone's here. Ino, curious, wait, what about Naruto's team? She looked at everyone present, trying to find a certain pale face that had long occupied her thoughts. Shika, calmly, calm down Ino, they already know about this. I even know that Rias was in charge of those documents. Sakura grunted a little at that. Sakura, would be, what do you mean? Besides, those two haven't been seen together lately. Shika, calmly, Naruto is not in the village since he was summoned to a place with Jiraiya-sama's Toad Masters while Rias is training with Tsunade-sama. It is also known that she is helping you while you are in the hospital and Shizen-san is at the autopsy of that Akatsuki. Sakura just sighed in frustration. She had been replaced as a doctor, which bothered her because someone else had taken her teacher's trust. Shino, serious, then why did you summon us here? Nara nodded and placed a piece of paper on the floor, then infused it with chakra, creating a barrier. Shika, serious, Itachi Uchiha has died at the hands of Sasuke. Everyone opened their eyes. Sakura, would be, so, will we form squads to search for him or what? Shika, serious, no, Itachi left a note and that's in Sasuke's hands. The council accepts the Uchiha clan again as long as Sasuke comes here on his own. Sakura clenched her fists. Sakura, would be, what do you mean by that? Shika, serious, Sakura, Tsunade-sama has ordered us to be working in the village for now. Sasuke has already had several opportunities for redemption, this is the last one, so we must be ready. Everyone nodded in agreement, although Sakura clenched her fists. Sakura, would be, and Naruto is the one who knows about that. Shika, serious, he was the first to know, and although it may seem reckless to you, Naruto and his team will go in search of him once this problem is over. Sakura clenched her fists, her former partner had left her behind again, and that bothered her more than she thought. Ino, serenely, well, it's been a while and the work in the village isn't finished yet. I think we should go to our fields, don't you think? Everyone nodded, although Sakura was angry about it, and the worst part was that at this moment she had to go to the hospital. Without further ado, everyone left, having things to do in their clans and in improving security with the present threat. Hokage office. Rias and Tsunade were sitting in the office, both had finished their work a while ago. The redhead had improved her concentration, even Sakura, who had been working on that seal for longer, hadn't improved much and didn't even have an indication that she had any energy in the seal on her forehead. At that moment, the woman put her teacup aside and saw the woman who was stretching her body from the effort. Tsunade, cheerfully, you know, those exercises of yours are actually useful, even for relaxation. The redhead standing in front of her chuckled. Rias, cheerfully, if yoga is something useful, winking, even Naruto calms down when we do those exercises. Tsunade chuckled, imagining Naruto looking relaxed. Tsunade, cheerfully, I see, it's good that you have a good influence on that brat. I see it's a great exercise. Rias, cheerfully, yes, that has been helping me since I concentrate more energy than normal and thanks to the abnormal amount of chakra, it has actually been helping me with the seal on my forehead, in addition to restricting the amount of energy a little, so I have better control. Senju nodded as she sipped her tea, happy that the girl had adapted better to that seal, but then she became serious. Tsunade, would be, Rias, I want you to be attentive now. It's a private matter, but some villages have refused help and deny the threat of Akatsuki. Rias, would be, according to Naruto, there's only one more left, right? Tsunade, would be, yes, it's still confusing to me since they've remained silent. Rias nodded. It would be worrying if the leader of that organization was silent. Location unknown. A person with purple hair and a paper flower adorning their hairstyle is seen. The woman was currently calm on a mountain, sitting in a lotus position, concentrating the maximum amount of chakra. She had been like this for more than half a day. Noticing that the daylight was slowly fading, she opened her eyes. Conan, would be, camouflage. In a matter of seconds, an imposing tree was created out of nothing with paper leaves coming out of the body of the woman who was panting on the ground. She was helped by a man with orange hair and a face full of piercings. Human path, calmly, ready Conan, I'll take charge from now on, rest, let's go. The man gave support so that the woman could enter the created tree. She sat down calmly while the man stood in front and, after a few hand gestures, exclaimed, human path, serious, summoning jutsu. After a large explosion of smoke, a tired and somewhat rough voice spoke. Sad face calmly, ready, prepared, tomorrow is the attack. 6 people with orange hair nodded as Conan settled down to sleep for tomorrow. With Sasuke. Sasuke watched the black-haired girl who was looking at the house with a small smile as she placed a photo on the door and prayed a little. Aika, smiling, I'm leaving, thank you for everything, I'll try to have the life you wanted for me, looking at the sky, wish me luck. Without further ado, the woman smiled and approached Sasuke and his group. Sasuke, calmly, are you ready? Aika, cheerfully, yes, what to do now? I'm sure the Leaf Village is in the plans, but you must have something in mind, right? Sasuke, calmly, that's true, activating his Sharingan, Akatsuki, I need to get some answers from that group. Aika, cheerfully, I see what the plan is then. Sasuke, serious, first, I need to find something out, and I know the leader of that organization will answer my questions. Aika, would be, so to the one with the mask. Suigetsu, curious, what, you mean we'll go after him, but according to the information I was given, that man lives in Amigakure. Aika stopped and looked at them seriously. Aika, would be, then wait, I must tell you something else. Karen, snort, ha yeah right, what is that now, it's probably something useless. Aika, would be, Itachi didn't wipe out the clan alone, looking at Sasuke, there is still one Uchiha alive besides you and me. Sasuke, serious, what do you mean, another member of the clan helped him. Aika, would be, Madara Uchiha, Itachi told me I had to be careful, that man was the one who helped Itachi since the police were ready for the attack but he finished them off. Sasuke clenched his fists, another member of his clan had betrayed them. Sasuke, serious, even if it's true, Madara is dead, and if it weren't, tell me how an old man could do that. Aika, would be, I know, but the real leader of that organization is that man, but Itachi discovered that he was an Uchiha. Sasuke nodded, looking ahead. Sasuke, serious, well then that would be our priority. They all nodded as they began to run, but without anyone noticing, a figure appeared from the ground. Zetsu, amused, sure, I can get them to him. Without further ado, the plant sank into the ground, ready to give the information. Location unknown. A man wearing an orange mask was seen walking calmly with his hands on his head as he followed a huge man who had a large sword. Kisame, amused, and tell me, how long do we have to do this? There are only 5 of us in this organization, and I'm sure the leader will manage to catch the 9 tails. That brat has gotten strong. Toby, cheerfully, oh come on Kisame-senpai, punching the air, the leader is sure to win, look how strong he is. The shark man sneered as he began to walk. Kisame, blank, whatever, the 8 tails belongs to the leader so I'm going to wait for the next orders. Toby, cheerfully, well, goodbye Kisame-senpai. The man shook his hand vigorously behind Kisame's back, who just rolled his eyes and fled in a shun sign to avoid his coworker. Seeing that the shark man had gone under his hand, he spoke in a more serious tone with a deep voice. Madara, serious, well Zetsu, did you find any clues? Zetsu left the paycheck with a smile on his face. Zetsu, cheerfully, if Madara-sama, the Uchiha boy and his companions are looking for you, they want you to leave some clues. They will go to Konoha after receiving the answers. The man smiled and shook his head. Madara, cheerfully, don't worry Zetsu, I'll meet up with them. More seriously, we must wait and see if Pain manages to capture the 9 tails Jinchuriki. If he does, I won't need him anymore, but if not, taking out a red sphere. Let's just say the second Hokage was doing some very interesting research. Zetsu, cheerfully, yes, I understand, sir, new orders. Madara, serious, keep an eye on the Leaf Village, win or lose. I have an idea to get Sasuke to help me if you can keep him away from the village for now. Zetsu nodded and burrowed into the ground as he replied. Zetsu, cheerfully, I understand, I'll leave now. Without further ado, Madara nodded as his cheerful voice returned to the stage. Toby, cheerfully, see you later, Mr. Zetsu. Zetsu nodded and went underground, while Toby began to walk happily down the path. DXD Dimension. Mao Lucifer was not having the best time. A week had passed and he had not been able to find any clues. At this moment he was in his office waiting for someone, before continuing with his frantic thoughts when a magic circle appeared and a cheerful voice called him. Sad face cheerfully, oh, so that the great demon king would call me with such urgency. The red-haired man sighed and pulled out a bottle of liquor. He must be on good terms with the man in front of him. Sursech, calmly, yes, thank you for coming. Azazel donated and I'm sorry it's unexpected. At that moment, a tall man with black hair, blonde bangs, and a goatee, wearing an elegant suit, sat down in front of the man who served 2 glasses with ice. Azazel, smiling, so tell me, has something happened? I mean, it's not normal for you to invite me into your territory just because. Lucifer nodded, noticing the caution and sharp eyes hidden behind that smile. Sursech, sighs, to be honest, I think it's no secret at this point that my younger sister disappeared, right? The fallen man nodded as he placed the empty glass on the table and nodded. Azazel, calmly, I see, then this means that Beelzebub has not made any progress in his investigation or in the search for truth. Sursech nodded with a sigh, letting the fallen man take another glass of liquor as he leaned back in his chair. Sursech, sighs, yes, there are no results. That seems to be something that only happens once in a lifetime, which makes me uneasy. The fallen man nodded and took something out of his jacket, placing it on the table. Azazel, serious, let me tell you that may be false, I think the other side was the first to make contact. Mao took what the fallen man left on the table, curious about what it was. Sursech, curious, this looks like a Japanese weapon, but I think it's been over 1,500 years since I've seen one, well apart from current anime. Azazel, shaking his head, that piece of rusty metal isn't important. Pointing at the handle, look at that. Sursech raised an eyebrow upon seeing some strange drawings printed on that weapon. Sursech, curious, what does that mean? It looks like kanji writing, but it's very confusing and I can't read anything. Azazel, sighs, some time ago, while walking through the streets of Shibuya, I came across an altercation with a young man, but he wasn't normal. His clothing didn't match the environment, and he seemed too old and serious to enjoy cosplay. Serious, believe me, he was strong, but I'm sorry to tell you this, but if you want answers, Shinto is the only way to know what's going on. Upon hearing that, the man sighed in defeat. At this moment, he wouldn't mind handing over the demonic family responsible for the problem with the Nikomatas. Sursech, calmly, that would be it. Azazel, serious, every universe has its opposite. I know there is a connection in every opposite or similar universe. I don't know, but one thing is for sure. Maybe it's not known or they're not aware, but I think there might be a connection. Taking out a seal, this whirlpool may be your greatest key. Sursech raised an eyebrow, picking up the things from the table, and sighed at the sight. Sursech, sighs, I appreciate this help, but a whirlpool, even if it's there, seems different. Azazel, smiling, don't see it as a whirlpool, better call it Uzumaki, standing up. That's all I know, so I'll leave, or if Beelzebub finds out anything about that kunai, let me know. I'm certainly intrigued by that. Sursech, sighs, yes, thank you for that, I'll help you with that. Goodbye and thank you. The fallen one smiled as he said goodbye, snapping his fingers as he departed in his magic circle. Azazel, cheerfully, don't worry, if I find out anything I'll help, that thing about dimensions is interesting, goodbye. Sursech sighed, took the kunai and the blade. The man watched with a sigh, not knowing what was happening. He went to see his friend at his castle, Gremory house. It was already late afternoon when Mao Lucifer and Leviathan decided it was best for the two nobles to leave the human world as a precaution, although it didn't matter since they had already decided to leave school to focus on the search for Rias. Sona, noticing that the amount of supernatural activity had intensified, decided to leave it in the hands of her superiors and concentrated on helping with the search for her childhood friend. Akino sighed at this moment. She was sitting on the bed she sometimes shared with her friend. She looked at the photos and things on the walls that reminded her of her friend. She sighed, not knowing anything, not even the slightest news, about her friend. Akino sighs, damn, where have you gone, Rias? Then a kind voice spoke. Sad face friendly, well, I think I might have an answer to that. Akino quickly went on guard. She looked around the room searching for the source of that voice. Akino, would be, tell me what you want and why you kidnapped Bucho. The voice showed no signs of annoyance. In fact, it sounded somewhat understanding in the room, but she couldn't see anything in the place. Wink with a frown calmly, the truth is, I was the one who helped Rias-chan in the dimensional rift. At that moment, she couldn't say anything. Akino opened her eyes as a burst of smoke exploded on the bed and a scroll appeared on the bed. It's a message. Don't worry, she's fine. Akino, would be, tell me where she is, where did you take her? The black-haired woman groaned when there was no more response. She cautiously approached, taking what that strange entity had left on the bed. Before he could see what it was or if it was safe, a voice caught his attention. Sad face shyly, it's Akino-san, are you alright? I heard some screams. The dark-haired woman sighed and showed the parchment they had left for her. Akino, would be, Asia-chan help me, let's call everyone. This appeared suddenly in a strange event, let's be quick. The former nun nodded and ran off towards the place where they knew her noble friends were. Akino went to inform the mother and father of her king. Gremory house dining room. Venelana was not happy with the presence of the Phoenix family in her dining room, still upset with her husband and that boy who broke their promise causing her daughter's disappearance. Venelana, annoyed, it's not that I'm annoyed, but what are you doing here? Layla Phoenix sighed at the woman's anger, although if her daughter were in the redhead girl's situation, she wouldn't be the kindest woman to those responsible either. Lord Phoenix, calmly, Lady Gremory, you know, as does everyone else, that this is also a matter of interest to my clan. The Gremory woman only grunted angrily, but her husband spoke. Zeoticus, calmly, Venelana, you know they have helped a lot in the search, they deserve to know if there is any news. Riser, annoyed, that's right, you need to stop playing around. You don't know the damage your little escapade has caused. We need to get married as soon as possible so this can end. Venelana and Rias's nobles were annoyed by that. Zeoticus, calmly, I understand that and the damage to your clan and status in the underworld, we will prove that it is all a misunderstanding. Lord Phoenix nodded, knowing that without this marriage his clan would be ruined, its prestige was at rock bottom and profits were rapidly decreasing as most clans decided to support the Gremory girl, all of which had a negative effect on that house. Venelana just grunted at that, she still hadn't forgiven her husband for doing that, selling her daughter again. Zeoticus, calmly, Akino, please tell us what happened. Akino, serenely, I'm sorry, Lord Lucifer ordered me to. Zeoticus, serious, the feud is not important. Before finishing, the Demon King opened the doors with a serious face. Sursech, serious, I will not allow you to disobey my orders, that must be clear, and you can make decisions for the clan but, unleashing power, this time I will enforce my orders. Those present shuddered at that, Riser, the Phoenix, and Zeoticus shuddered a little at that. Layla, sadly, well, what if we see what Akino-san has here? Maybe it's the location for her search. Sursech nodded, looking at his sister's friend. Sursech, calmly, thank you for waiting for me Akino-chan, please tell us what happened. The woman nodded, placing the parchment on the table in front of her. Akino, serene, I was in Rias's room, lost in my thoughts, when I heard a kind voice that conveyed great calm. It was masculine but also comforting. He told me that he was the one who helped Bucho in the dimensional rift. She stopped and saw the expectation on everyone's faces and placed the scroll on the table. He said this is from Rias-sama. Sursech, upon seeing the parchment, opened his eyes at the red swirl on the parchment. Venelana, would be, tell me what that is, did you read what it says? Akino, serene, no, I didn't even open it. I immediately called this meeting. Zeoticus, curious, a whirlpool, that's not even important, just open it already, we need to get a clue as to where it is. Sursech, serious, Uzumaki, Venelana looked at him expectantly, you can open it Akino-chan. Venelana, curious, son, do you know anything about Uzumaki? Sasuke, serious, apparently this has happened before, the universe hypothesis is true. Azazel recently told me that he encountered someone capable of giving him a fight, but after that he didn't tell me much, but he left 2 items. It was a kunai with strange writing, in addition to that symbol, pointing to the whirlpool. That symbol means something that has to do with the word Uzumaki. Zeoticus, serious, well, it's best to open it, let's see if it gives us the location of where it is. Sasuke scoffed and looked at his sister's friend. Sasuke, sigh, please, Akino-chan, open it, will you? The girl nodded as she placed her hands on it, feeling as if some of her energy was being absorbed. Before she could say anything, she noticed a magic circle with the Gremory crest forming, and the parchment and symbol split, allowing the woman to read the contents. Akino, serene, I'll start reading. Reading of the parchment. Hello everyone, if you managed to read this I suppose my letter did arrive. First of all, I want to tell you that I am not in danger. Everyone was relieved to hear that. Before we begin, let me tell you what happened in the qualifying game against that arrogant idiot. If it was a dimensional rupture, I'll mention I've fallen into another dimension. The woman stopped at a scream. Riser, annoyed, how dare you? Sasuke, serious, silence, do not interrupt. Looking at the boy, any complaints? Riser shuddered but sat down, giving the woman a look that said little. Venelana, sigh, don't interrupt anymore, maybe she can tell us how to help her get from that place. The matriarch of the Gremory clan wanted to hope that was the reason for her letter. Zeoticus, calmly, please, Akino-san, continue. Akino, serene, I understand, sir, I will continue. Riser growled at her, since he did notice the smile on the woman's face that she had hidden with the parchment. In the reading, the truth is, during this time I've found some friends, I'm not alone. They are good people, although I'll never be able to find friends like you in my life. My kindness, I would never look for a replacement. You know better than anyone that, apart from being my friends, you are my family. Akino wiped away a tear, but another snort filled the room. Riser, annoyed, stop that garbage already, just tell us how you want us to bring her. This wedding needs to happen as soon as possible. Sasuke raised an eyebrow, looking at his parents. Sasuke, serious, I think I've made it clear that it won't happen, or should I express my point better? Zeoticus, serious, Sasuke, you must calm down. Rias's escape has caused a great fall within the Phoenix clan. It is Rias's duty to face. Sasuke, serious, I believe that part of keeping promises is that they cannot speak, looking at Patriarch Phoenix. If I remember correctly, there were 2 years left before that meeting, or am I mistaken? The clan patriarch shuddered, but said nothing, he was still upset knowing this would happen. He would never have accepted his son demanding that she bring this forward, perhaps this wouldn't have happened. Lord Phoenix, sighs, I'm sorry Lord Lucifer, but this is the only way for my house to survive. This marriage is the only way to redemption. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, causing a chill to run through the patriarchs of that house and his father. Sasuke, serious, Akino, you can continue please. Akino nodded as she watched sadly, hoping that her friend's brother would do something to stop this. Akino, serene, yes sir. In the reading. Anyway, the reason for this letter is to let you know that I'm doing well, although I haven't found a way to return. But don't worry, I'm living a good life these days. Someone helped me settle in a village, I have a secure income, and I have good relationships. Everyone treats me normally, even though I haven't revealed that I'm a demon. I've had help, although I recently lost one of my mentors. That man helped and supported me, and he taught me many things. Anyway, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I was helped, and I'm happy. I think that's the main reason. I don't want you to worry, the last thing I want is for your life to be on hold because of me. Akino wiped away a tear because of that while Riser mocked her. Riser, annoyed, what is this waste of time? How did he settle down? Doesn't he know he has duties to perform here? Lord Phoenix looked annoyed by that. Lord Phoenix, serious, it's best you don't speak, this is your fault, you'd better improve your attitude, if we manage to find it you must be an exemplary person. Sasuke, calmly, I see, so that's alright. That calms me down a little. Looking at Akino, there's no clue or direction. Akino shook her head, but in the end she noticed something at the end of the sheet. Akino, curious, no, she just said she's fine and that we shouldn't worry too much, but these drawings. The girl touched them with her fingers, and as she did so, 3 more scrolls fell in a burst of smoke. Venolana, curious, more, tell me, can you continue? Akino, curious, nobility, family, for everyone. Looking at the woman, this is for you and this is for us. Venolana took the scroll, looking at it nostalgically. When she touched it, she noticed how its energy drained away and the seal broke. Venolana, reading, Mom, Dad, Brother, this is for Graphia and Militias too. It hurts me deeply to know that I might not be able to see you. I don't know exactly if this will reach you, but I'll be brief. This was a difficult decision, but I won't waste my life. I know the marriage is still on. I don't know if it's cowardice on my part, but that man isn't what I want. In this letter for everyone, there's news for all of you, and you'll understand part of the reason why I've decided not to take so many measures to find me. Although I don't blame you for thinking of the clan, the main reason is that I won't marry someone I don't love, and I'm afraid of giving birth to a child I wouldn't love. More than anything, I want to have a normal family, a husband who loves me, and a child I can see as my own, not an obligation. I don't know if you understand, but I can't bear your disappointment, so if the marriage is still on, I refuse, and I've decided it's better to drop the family name to save face. That's all. I'm very grateful for everything you've done for me, but I choose my happiness even if I lose everything else. Venolana crushed the parchment as she stood up with her head down, hiding her tears, but her son stopped her. Sursech, calmly, there's one letter missing for everyone, maybe I'll explain better and we'll have something to learn. The woman slowly sat down again. Zeoticus, seeing his wife, tried to take her hand, but she pushed it away, and everyone tensed up at the dark energy that the woman suddenly released. Venolana, angry, I told you to leave this behind. I lost my daughter because of a useless commitment. Don't you understand? Our daughter was willing to leave everything behind. How could you not realize that? She had to disappear or die, and yet you still won't open your eyes. The clan patriarch shuddered at that anger, only lowering his head, finally opening his eyes to his daughter's suffering and the damage caused by his decisions. The members of the Phoenix clan could only stare in disbelief. This was bad. Their son and his insistence knew that now that the Gremory daughter had decided to abandon the family name and leave everything behind rather than be forced into marriage, this would only cause their son and their house to be even more rejected, since most women had supported the heir to the Gremory house. They knew they had to do something, they couldn't allow any more harm to their clan. Akino, serene, if you don't mind, I'll read this one first, showing the one about the nobility. It says to read it privately with Sona-sama, so if you don't mind, I'll do it later. Sursech, calmly, relax, if that's what she wants, that's what will be done. You can read the other one, please. Akino nodded and took the scroll. As she unrolled it, Akino chuckled. Akino, blushing, well, if that's the case, maybe I'll think about coming back. Zeoticus, sigh, and that would be it. Akino smiled and took out a picture where Rias was seen with a radiant smile. They also noticed the Japanese-style clothing and the large meadow and a beautiful waterfall, but what caught everyone's attention was seeing the young blonde boy who had a smile just like Rias's. The boy was hugging her around the waist while the redhead was on his lap as the two hugged. Akino, cheerfully, wow, this is certainly interesting, don't you think? Upon seeing the photo, I was angry. Annoyed, hey, why is he touching Bucho? It's not fair. Riser, angry, what filth are you talking about? It's my fiancé you're talking about, and how dare you do that? Venolana, serenely, silence. After all, I think it's clear that that's not going to happen anymore, right? The boy shuddered when he saw his parents asking for help, he shuddered at his mother's annoyed look and his father's stern stare. Layla, would be, you better sit down, we'll discuss that behavior, looking at her husband, the part about respecting the promises they make should come first in your talk. The man just sighed, it was better to think about how to save face. He knew the clans were against him, since thanks to Riser and his actions and behavior, Lucifer had annulled the arranged engagements and punished the offenders. Even a member of the Gladiolabla's house had tried to bribe him into a forced marriage with a girl almost 100 years his junior. It goes without saying that the poor fool ended up hospitalized and defecating a large amount of money. It also goes without saying that no one else dared to bring up that subject near the powerful demon. Lord Phoenix, calmly, I believe that's true. Besides, she has decided to start a life in a different place. I will respect that. Riser, angrily, what are you saying? You know my image is tarnished and... He stopped, overwhelmed by the pressure his father suddenly exerted. Lord Phoenix, serious, I don't want to hear anything from you. I will keep my promises, and if you open your mouth this time there will be consequences. Riser held his gaze but in the end shuddered at the seriousness. Knowing he would not win, he sat down and grunted in his seat. Akino chuckled. She had read the scroll silently and smiled slightly, understanding why her friend felt so comfortable in that world. Akino, cheerfully, well, how about we continue? This is very interesting. Everyone paid attention, although Ici and Riser weren't the happiest people when they saw that photo. Venelana, wiping her tears, please Akino, read the message. Akino, cheerfully, of course. Reading the message. Hello everyone again, I know you're curious about the image that came with this message. You see, first of all, his name is Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki is the person who helped me from the very first moment I arrived. That boy gave me a home, supported me during my stay, trusted me, and accepted me. He knows many things about me, even that I'm a demon, and he accepted me. As you think, it's true, I fell in love with him. I never thought I'd experience these feelings on my own, and I've fought for him. He's the best man I could have found. He's kind, very affectionate, and protective. He's very thoughtful, and he's never forced me to forget anything. I'm very grateful because he allows me to be myself, something I'm very thankful for. At this point, I think you understand the reason, right? And if it's as you think, I'm romantically involved with Naruto-kun, and in this time, it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me, especially when he accepted an evil piece to become a demon. I hope that someday you'll get to know him too. He's a good guy and honestly, the best thing that's ever happened to me. Upon hearing that, Riser just clenched his fists so tightly that two small spheres of fire appeared. It was because his recovery factor was regenerating his palms as the man clenched them so hard. Riser, annoyed, that wretch rejects me, a pure-blood phoenix demon, for an insignificant human. Phoenix's parents were not happy with that news. The worst part was that if it became known that she chose a human man, it would further denigrate their family's image. Upon seeing the blonde boy hugging his daughter, Zeoticus frowned. It wasn't so much that the boy was human, what he didn't believe was that the boy would bring anything good to his daughter. After all, it would be giving away his demonic genes to that inferior race, and that's what bothered him. Venelana watched with a small smile. She saw the genuine emotion in the couple, how her daughter's eyes overflowed with love and tranquility as she was in that man's arms. Akino, cheerfully, Era, look there, more photos. Upon opening the last seal of the parchment, everyone saw photos of the couple where a happy Rias was seen being hugged or kissed by the blonde, something that angered a certain pervert and the playboy of the room. Riser, angry, how dare that wretch. Sursech, calmly, I heard something from you, I hope it's just a misunderstanding, isn't it? Riser shuddered and lowered his head as the Satan nodded. He took one of the photos and opened his eyes. It was one of Rias hugging Naruto from behind. The blonde boy lifted her up as Rias showed a strange three-pronged kunai in one of her hands, but what caught his attention was the writing. It was similar to that on the kunai Azazel had given him. Sursech, serene, I'll go look for a juka, those symbols look similar to me, I hope he discovers something. Without further ado, he took the photo and went to talk to his friend. Akino took a picture and licked her lips with a sensual expression on her face. Akino, mischievously. Era, look at that, that's quite a specimen, don't you think? When Riser and Ici saw the photo, they frowned, annoyed by the blonde boy's strong physique. Ici, annoyed, that idiot, just because he's a little cute, don't you think it's unfair, Asia? When he didn't get a response, he went back to check and his jealousy only increased when he saw Asia, Kaneko, and even the two older women looking at the photo of the shirtless blonde guy that his bucho had sent. Zeoticus, sighs, I think there's nothing more to be done. I won't abandon the search, but I believe I can end the engagement for the union of the houses. It's too late now, but it's Rias's decision, and I prefer that she remain my daughter. Phoenix sighed and nodded as he stood up, took his son by the shoulder, who wanted to say something, and nodded. Lord Phoenix, calmly, it's obvious that I will not risk my house anymore. If you need manpower, don't hesitate to call, but I will concentrate more on clearing my name, that is more important to me now. Venelana and Zeoticus nodded as Layla approached her husband, placing a hand on her son. Layla, serenely, it's true, I deeply regret my son's insistence. I will correct my mistake right now, I should never have let that happen. I am so sorry that it is his daughter who is paying the price for our upbringing. Riser was about to speak, but his mother tightened her grip on his shoulder, which made him shudder. He knew it wouldn't be pretty. Before saying anything more, the members of that clan went home. They had a lot to discuss with their rebellious son. Venelana sighed and took the photos of her daughter and partner, a small, affectionate smile appearing on her face as she saw the genuine smile on her daughter's face. Venelana, sighs, I'll frame this, wiping away a tear, how I wish it had been here where you could find happiness. She gave the brown-haired boy a slight look of disgust. She wasn't naive. She had seen how that brat only expressed how he would find his daughter by her breasts and virginity. That bothered her. She knew he was the Red Emperor, but that didn't stop her from saying that that boy was a good decision. In her opinion, he was a waste of her 8 pawn pieces. Akino discreetly took the picture where Rias was wearing a small bikini while the Uzumaki was alone in a swimsuit. She shuddered just thinking about that strong male specimen on top of her. A lustful shiver ran through her body as she thought about more private things with that sexy blonde man. Akino, fake coughing, well, if it's not important, I'll go see Sona-sama to read the contents for us. The two adults nodded as they went to clear their minds. It had been difficult to learn that their daughter had decided to abandon her family name, all because she didn't want to get married. Zeoticus was the most affected. He had thought it was just a silly teenage rebellion, but here he was, finding out that his daughter didn't care much about dying or leaving her family name behind as long as she didn't get married. This made him reflect, so he simply went to his office. He had to think about what to do. He had to do everything possible to bring his daughter back to Vesa, or at least tell her that she had his support. He was so lost in his thoughts that as soon as he closed his office door, an angry look settled on his face, with only one thought in his head. Zeoticus, thinking, if that blonde guy does anything to him, I'll burn him alive. Mount Myomo-kusen. Naruto was sitting calmly with 3 clones on the top of a pointed mountain. He was so focused that the toad sage was surprised when the blonde boy shuddered and fell into the void, looking scared. Sad face shock, but Naruto-chan, you were doing so well, what happened? Naruto, pale, I don't know, but I think I'll be away from flammable houses for a while. The blonde man paled at the sight of the great waterfall of toad oil in the distance. This only caused laughter in the old toad. Ma, cheerfully, come on, you've been there all day, showing a basket, come on, I have rice balls filled with caterpillars and lots of tick-leg tea, you can eat as much as you want, come on, don't be shy. Naruto just turned purple at that idea but nodded rigidly because in his infinite wisdom and lust he forgot to pack more instant ramen. Now more than ever he regretted that decision. Without further ado, both teacher and student went downstairs to eat and replenish their energy for what was to come in the final stretch of their training. End of chapter. Part 52. Leaf Village. Rias Gremory had a day off thanks to her progress in her training. She walked with a big smile on her face. Besides her rapid growth in the 100-strength seal technique, she was happy because, according to Tsunade, it took her a long time for the seal to manifest, so even she was impressed. Aside from that, she was more relaxed since at one point during the night the same kind voice that had helped her contacted her. It had been a few months since she arrived in this place. A loving smile took over her features when she remembered the day she met Naruto. She shook off the thoughts of being near her partner. She had been able to send a message to his home. Now she was calmer and had been able to tell them with complete confidence that she wanted to stay and that they shouldn't waste their time looking for her, although if she could go with Naruto she would think about it a little. The girl continued with a calm step as a weight on her back eased at being able to say goodbye to her family and friends. She was lost in her thoughts when a cheerful voice caught her attention. Ino, cheerful, or Rias-san, it's been a while. The redhead turned around and smiled at one of her friends, who was accompanied by the other girls. Rias, cheerfully, yes, good morning, laughing, well, Tsunade-sama is rather strict in training, and thanks to Shizen-san being busy, the documents have piled up. The redhead turned around with a smile. The girl had her ninja headband tied to her left arm. This day she woke up more liberal. She decided not to comb her long, unruly red hair, revealing a happy woman, although Sakura, who saw the redhead's forehead, noticed it immediately. That was impossible in her eyes. Sakura, shock, wait, how? That seal is very difficult to master. Even I've had it for 3 years and haven't made any progress. Rias raised an eyebrow at that while shrugging it off. Rias, cheerfully, oh, this isn't much, but according to Master Tsunade, it could be the large amount of chakra I possess, in addition to concentration. According to her, I discovered something that can accelerate the energy concentration process. After that, the rest is practically unconscious. Sakura watched with a mixture of astonishment and jealousy. She had tried to awaken the seal, but had noticed that the amount of chakra she could store wasn't very significant. This bothered her, as she was somewhat jealous now that she knew Rias had precise control of her energy, even though, according to her teacher, she had a larger amount than the Hokage herself, only overshadowed by Naruto, who possessed a tailed beast. Ino, touching Sakura's shoulder, hey forehead, what's wrong? Also, move it, we need to go to the hospital. Sakura shook herself and nodded with a sigh. Sakura, sighs, I think so, it's just hard to digest, you know. Hinata, who was behind them, nodded. Knowing that the girl in front of them was better in many of the aspects they had trained in since childhood was a lot to take in. The girls giggled a little when a small child walked past their legs. Girl, cheerfully, come on, grandma, they'll run out. Rias and Ino gave way to an elderly woman with a cane and a kind smile. Grandma, cheerfully, okay, we're going, the pastry shop won't move from that place, calm down. The girl pouted at that, the 3 girls smiled, but Rias launched a black beam. Sakura, shocked, but what? The girl stopped when a wall almost fell on the child, and before they knew what happened, many explosions echoed through the village. Rias, would be, come on, we're under attack. Without further ado, they all nodded and went their separate ways. Minutes earlier, a group of people were seen wearing the characteristic Akatsuki cloak. The 7 of them looked at their leader, who nodded. Jaiko, calmly, it is the leaf, find the Jinchuriki no matter the cost, now judgment must fall upon these mortals, God will give his word. They all nodded. Conan, would be, I'll be in touch, I'll take care of her. Jaiko, serious, yes, in front of her she is your priority, but if they are with the Jinchuriki don't face both of them, that's very dangerous. The purple-haired woman nodded, spread her paper wings, and took flight to search for him. Upon seeing this, the man pointed towards the village, and one of them ran to another who, after making some hand gestures, expelled the body into the air. Animal walk, serene, summoning jutsu. Leaf village. For Jounin walked calmly towards a building. Jounin 1, cheerful, that's great, nothing new, just a few drinks. 3 just laughed, but suddenly the man was grabbed by the neck and lifted up as if nothing had happened. Jaiko, calmly, tell me where the Jinchuriki is. Jounin 3, on guard, it's Akatsuki, come on, you must inform us, we will stop him. 1 nodded and tried to run, but a strange force of attraction drew him to the man, who drove a black pike into his chest, killing 2 of the 5. Jounin, serious, we must inform at all costs. Before they knew what had happened, they noticed how the man moved very quickly, causing those who remained to be killed without them even realizing it. In a building, for men, looking at a sphere of a special liquid, frowned upon noticing that. Censor, serious, informed Tsunade-sama, it's strange, there are several points in the village but it's only 1 attacker, it's strange. An Ambu in the room nodded and then went to deliver that information. Hokage office. Shizun, would be, and yes ma'am, it's true, these black bars are the key, I don't know exactly how. The Senju woman nodded, holding a black bar. Tsunade, would be, I understand, that's interesting. So if Jiraiya sent us, it was. Before the loud explosions ended, they echoed through the village, and the woman looked seriously at the village before giving orders. An Ambu knelt in front of her. Ambu, serious, my lady, the Chunin and Genin are already in the process of taking people to the shelters, and the barrier squad tells us that it is a single chakra but there are several points of attack, and if the attackers are wearing the Akatsuki cloak, The Hokage woman opened her eyes. Tsunade, would be, good, repel the enemy and take everyone to the shelters. Shizen, the body must be protected, don't let the enemy recover it and let Inoichi know this, let's go. Without further ado, the two went out to carry out their orders and Tsunade began to command her forces. In the village, it was complete chaos. The 6 paths of pain destroyed and reduced to dust everything in their path and killed anyone who crossed their way. The animal path was standing in front of a village building and suddenly exclaimed, "Animal path, monotonous, summoning jutsu." After saying that, a large rhinoceros with the Rinnegan appeared and ran off, destroying houses and everything in its path. Several shinobi who tried to do something were seriously injured, some even killed. Elsewhere, several giant 100-foot-long beings crushed buildings, houses, and parks. Everything in the village was chaos. Kurenai rushed out of her house upon hearing the commotion. She was about to run somewhere safe, knowing the village's protocol for enemy attacks, but before she could, she opened her eyes to see one of the enemy's 100-foot giants about to crash into her building, with her in the way. Before anything could happen, the large creature stopped, and the woman noticed shadow tendrils impaling the creature, which shrieked in agony. Before she could process what happened, she saw many explosive tags being thrown at the creature, and Shikamaru grabbed her arm and guided her to a safe space inside the building. "Shika, serious, come on, we need to take cover." Shikamaru made the woman safe and protected her from the explosion with his body. When the explosion ended, the teenager helped the woman get out of the building. Kurenai, sigh, thank you, it's good that you arrived. Shika, sighs, of course, I wouldn't be able to see Asuma's face if something happened to you. The woman smiled at him while protecting her belly with her arm. Kurenai, sigh, well, that's enough for now. What's happening now? Shika, serious, I still don't know, it was a sudden attack. I came when I heard the first explosion. I must help, so I will only escort her halfway. The escort and medical groups have already been deployed. The woman nodded as she began to walk as fast as she could while Shikamaru remained alert for any enemies. Village streets. The place was in chaos as many explosions sounded in the distance, in addition to the collapse of buildings. Kiba and Akamaru, who had gone out on their mother's orders to run some errands for her, were annoyed because they didn't know what was happening or what they could do. Kiba saw a woman with purple hair who had white paper wings, who looked at the place with an impossible face. The woman did not notice the boy when he dodged a shuriken. Kiba groaned, having missed his shot. He had found a shuriken on the floor from the battle and had wasted his only sure shot. Akamaru stood protectively in front of his master as they both stared seriously at the woman high above, who only had an impassive face. Wink with a frown, it would be, empty palm. The purple-haired woman stepped back as the strong gust of wind hit her full force. Kiba, cheerfully, or are you Hinata-like? Hinata, serious, civilians are your priority, keep them safe. Annoyed, the Chunin and higher forces will take care of it. Civilians, go with the genin, please follow protocol. Snorts, and don't get in the way. Kiba clenched his fists and growled in anger when 3 children with headbands stood in front of him. Genin, serious, come on, we have orders that all civilians get safely to the hideouts. My partner is a medical ninja, let us know if you suffer any injuries or discomfort so that we can treat you. The man growled and was about to attack when he heard barking and noticed his sister running across the rooftops. Hana ran quickly across the rooftops. She noticed her mother heading towards Shizun on the highway, so she picked up the pace. Then a familiar smell reached her nose. She turned her head and screamed, Hana, it would be, Akamaru, come follow me to the North Wing General Hospital quickly. The dog was conflicted, he didn't know what to do or who to follow. At that moment, one of the woman's 3 dogs barked twice, and Akamaru lowered his head and quickly followed his owner's sister. That only increased the boy's anger, but before he could say anything, he noticed a large barrage of white shuriken aimed at him and the genin. He trembled with rage and helplessness as he saw the children standing protectively in front of him. Hinata, it would be, Kaden Hakushu Daikaden. Hinata began to rotate, successfully blocking the attack of the woman who calmly approached that group. Conan, Serena, no, you don't have red hair. Tell me where the Jinchuriki's girlfriend is. Kiba swallowed hard upon hearing that, even more so when he noticed how Hinata's usually calm face this time showed anger. Hinata, would be, I don't know where she is, but what are you looking for here? Conan, serene, you're not useful, the Jinchuriki is simple, besides, this village hasn't known the pain that has been inflicted by their greed, it's only in the name of deserved justice. Hinata clenched her fists at that moment, but then she noticed some black lightning bolts that the woman dodged. Rias, serenely, so the problem is with me, tell me what you need and why you're looking for my boyfriend. Conan, would be. Red hair, a very unique characteristic these days, although black energy, this is new, I have no information about this. Rias, cheerfully, yes, well believe me, it's not the only thing I can do with my power of destruction. Rias discreetly used her magic to make her enemy, along with Hinata, Kiba, and the genin, believe that she created her black wings using her energy. Since it was magic, no shinobi noticed the difference, and Kiba, lacking chakra, was the most impressed, as he couldn't believe that 3 children and 2 women were saving his skin. This was certainly humiliating. Kiba, annoyed, no, I. Before he could continue his tirade, the voice of an Ambu officer resonated. Ambu, serious, civilians are your priority, take them to the shelters, leave the conflicts to your superiors, Bird, be safe. Without further ado, Ambu appeared behind Kiba, knocked him out, and put him on his shoulder. Ambu, serious, let's go, the students will go through the affected areas, be attentive and let's take everyone to the shelters ahead. Without further ado, the 4 of them left. Before Conan could attack the group that had left, Rias stood in front of her. Rias, would be, I'm your opponent, right? If you defeat me, you can go. Conan, serenely, it seems you're not easy to handle. Being able to take on a man like Sasori is not to be underestimated. I hope you can make this interesting. Throwing paper shuriken, I'm very different from that man. Rias smiled as she created a magical shield, easily blocking Conan's attack. Conan, serenely, interesting ability, but believe me, extending her white wings, I have duties as the angel of Amigate-cure. Rias scoffed and also extended her demonic wings, although without her noticing, a second, smaller pair also appeared as her energy increased. Rias, serious, believe me, an angel doesn't have enough energy to claim that title. Conan remained impassive, thus already making plans to attack the red-haired girl. Rias, in the same way, did not take her eyes off the other woman, who was ready to attack or defend herself. Hinata clenched her fists as her ex's girlfriend arrived. She was about to step forward when 3 people stood in front of her. Wink with a frown it would be, Hinata-sama, Lord Hayashi is not in the village. The Hyuga clan is at your service. What do we do? The woman sighed, her face turning more serious as she realized that the clan's survival was now in her hands, especially since even her cousin Niji wasn't there. So she nodded and activated her Byakugan. Hinata, would be, okay, the first groups will defend and push back the enemy while the others take the children and vulnerable people to the shelters. Search every corner. We cannot allow casualties or mistakes. Go ahead, everyone is important, so let's go. The men nodded, and 2 of them followed their heir while the other went to give orders and help in the evacuation of the village. Rias quickly lunged at the purple-haired woman, whose expression changed upon noticing the woman's speed in the air. Conan, thinking, she's fast, as I thought she'd have an advantage in the air. The purple-haired woman grunted slightly as she noticed that the girl in front of her was skilled in aerial combat. Rias smiled, noticing the woman's hesitation. She wouldn't waste this opportunity, quickly creating a magic circle and launching a large burst of high-pressure water. Conan clenched his fists, but the water wasn't so much the problem as the powerful electrical blast that followed. Conan, would be, 2 elemental natures, what the heck is going on here? Rias smiled as she noticed the crack in the woman's voice. Rias, cheerfully, I'm not easy, and you think I showed off my waterfalls of triumph to the enemies you sent? Believe me, it's nothing compared to what I can do. Conan grunted a little at that. Conan, would be, it doesn't matter, I must win. Besides, if I lose, it's impossible for the Jinchuriki to handle pain. Do you think that brat can literally handle a god? Rias felt a pang of pain at that name, although she was not intimidated by it. Rias, serenely, yes, of course, believe me, that's a very big title for a mere mortal to claim. Smiling, unlike you, I do know things about you and that dolor. The woman grunted as she watched the girl pull out several of her organization's rings. Conan, would be, I see, so that was the plan, but tell me what will happen. Do you think everyone here can handle pain without him? And would that boy be strong enough to face him? We will capture the tailed beasts, only then will there be peace in this chaotic world. Rias sighed, this was confusing for her. Being a demon, chaos and tragedies were very common, something she even knew her species caused, since without them, in addition to sins, they would not exist. Rias, serenely, I see, you have grudges for this place, right? And you think that by doing the same thing you would have peace, or the justice you are really seeking. Conan, serene, I don't see why you should say that. We're just looking for an answer, and we've come to the conclusion that with the 9 bijus it's possible. We need that power. Look around you. Do you think it's fair to prevent peace? It's selfish of them. They're the only ones who care for those beings. Rias was annoyed by how the woman in front of her referred to her partner and other people like him. Rias, annoyed, peace, you chose to attack and you talk to me about peace. You must be stupid. And you call yourself an angel? Every time something comes out of your mouth, it tells me that's impossible. Besides, creating many magic circles, a couple of mortals don't have the right to speak like that. Conan opened her eyes as she created a dome with her paper, as not a second later many black rays impacted the woman, while the vast majority were directed at the various summoning animals of the leader Pain. In the tallest tree on the hill near Konoha. Sad face serious, this is dangerous, how could he do that? The man with the connection to the 6 pairs of Rinnegan eyes of the paths watched seriously what was happening in the village. Sad face calmly, perhaps I greatly underestimate the Leaf Village, smiling, but it doesn't matter, soon they will know the true power of God and true pain. Village of Leaves. The Jounin and the other villagers who had not yet reached the shelters were impressed by the great display of strength, as all the summons had been evaporated by Rias's energy. Tsunade, seeing that, nodded as she noticed the ambu near her. Tsunade, would be, leave the care of the civilians to the genin, the chunin and higher must counterattack. Rias has not given this opportunity, we must take advantage of it. The shinobi nodded and went to give orders and attack the enemy. Tsuanda also noticed the damage in her village and quickly made several symbols with her hands while drawing some blood from one of her fingers. Tsunade, would be, it's now, putting her hand on the ground, summoning jutsu. From a large cloud of homo, a large slug revealed itself. Sad face curious, my lady, what is happening? This is a lot of chakra expenditure. The woman gasped a little from the effort and chakra expenditure, but it was not a time to show weakness. Tsunade, would be, that doesn't matter now Katsuyu, it's time to split up search and heal those that the Ambu and Medical Corps couldn't give chakra to. Katsuyu, surprised, but my lady, that would be. Tsunade, would be, there's no time, go, I'll be fine, now go. The giant slug noticed how the woman concentrated her chakra and she felt the arrival of that energy, so without wasting time she divided into many copies of herself and went in search of wounded people in the places most affected by the battle. With Kakashi, the Jounin was running through the rubble, repelling several summoned animals, but upon noticing the black beam that evaporated all those creatures, he headed towards the center of the confrontation when he noticed something in the distance. Aika had already evacuated the children from the academy. He and the group of Chunin had gone out to help their comrades with the evacuation throughout the village. Aika, serious, this is unreal, what's happening now? This is worse than that time. The man was pulled from his thoughts when a muffled voice caught his attention. Sad face panting, help, please. Aika stopped and noticed an injured man being crushed by a large piece of rubble. He quickly approached. Aika, serious, don't worry, I'll help you. Come on, I'm sure medical teams are on the field. The man nodded but quickly stopped when a man with orange hair and the Akatsuki cloak stood impassively in front of them. Yahiko, calmly, fine, tell me where they hid the Jinchuriki. Aika, thinking, so this attack is because they're looking for Naruto. Serious, I see you've come to the wrong place for that search. Drawing a kunai, no one in this village betrays their comrades. I hope that's clear to you. The Akatsuki man nodded and quickly pulled one of his black rods from his cloak and pointed it directly at the academy's Chunin. Yahiko, calmly, I see if that's the case, you're no use to me, you'd better die. Aika gripped his kunai, ready to attack. He was about to try and stop the thrust in his chest, but before it could hit, a hand interrupted the thrust while he looked with his Sharingan at the impassive face of the Rinnegan holder. Kakashi, calmly, I see, I arrived on time. Seriously, Irika, go to the medical area. I'll take care of it from here. Irika nodded as he took the man and stood up supporting him. Irika, serious, I understand, I think you know more about the situation than I do, so there's no need to report anything. Kakashi, serious, yes, I already took this into account when the attack started. Come on, don't waste any time. Irika nodded and quickly left as he noticed the man lose consciousness. Kakashi focused on his opponent, noticing that the Chunin had already left. Yahiko, calmly, from your expression you're not willing to tell me where the Jinchuriki is, are you? If that's the case, there's no point in wasting time. Kakashi simply nodded. Kakashi, calmly, I think it's understandable, I won't tell you the position of one of my students. The man nodded as he took a few steps back. Yahiko, calmly, Sharingan no Kakashi the copy ninja I have received information from you. You are not a man to be taken lightly. They were both engaged in a brief staring contest while Kakashi saw Rias's red hair from a distance, and a woman with white wings, both in their own fight. Kakashi, thinking, I see this is because of Naruto. Now they even know about his relationship with Rias-chan. This must not get out of control. With that thought, the man tensed up, ready for the battle ahead. With Rias and Conan, the purple-haired woman watched cautiously. She noticed that the attack was very destructive, it had easily finished off her leader's creatures, and if she had been slow, she was sure that her paper shield wouldn't have been the only thing that would end up evaporating. Conan, would be, I see a wielder of a Kekkeigenkai. I never expected you to be someone dangerous. I warn you, it won't be enough to stop these plans. Peace will come, and this is the way. Rias clenched her fists and braced herself. She knew she couldn't let her guard down against someone who had managed to escape an attack of that magnitude. Rias, serenely, I see, I didn't think you could survive that. You're certainly something else. Besides, I've never seen an ability like that before. I shouldn't let my guard down either. Both women looked serious, ready for the great battle they were about to wage. Village Hospital. A man wearing the Akatsuki cloak entered calmly, as the state of alert in the village was allowing him to enter the private rooms with ease. Human path, serene, I see, so here you are useful again. The man began to reattach the black bars to the subject's body on the examination table before letting out a grunt that made him look behind him as three enormous dogs lunged at him. Would be, come on, we can't allow that, they have something to do with the end getting closer. Hana, will be, well, the body is our priority. Hana's three dogs were on guard while Akamaru and Sum's dog were cornering the man who seemed unfazed by these actions. Human path, serene, I see you didn't overlook this. What bad luck. I'll have to kill you. You mustn't interrupt. The two women of the Inusuka clan looked at the man seriously. Would be, pay attention, if this was the man who murdered Lord Jiraiya we shouldn't take anything lightly. The girl swallowed hard, knowing that this was no ordinary enemy. Interrogation room. The leader of the interrogation and torture unit, Inoichi Yamanaka, along with his second-in-command, Ibiki Marino, both stared seriously at the impassive figure enclosed in a kind of dome on the floor. Inoichi, serious, I'll go into his mind. You better speak now, otherwise physical torture will be our alternative. We must extract the information at all costs. Animal path, calmly, you are very naive, you will not get anything from me and you will waste your time, a god does not feel pain. Inoichi sighed and placed his hand on the subject's head, but upon entering his mind, all he saw was something that shocked him. Shizun, curious, Inoichi-san, is something serious happening? Upon hearing that, Inoichi clenched his fists, seeing the imprisoned figure still impassive and acting as if nothing had happened. Inoichi, serious, Ino, please remember, have you seen or interacted with this person? The blonde girl opened her eyes at that question. She became nervous upon noticing the seriousness of that accusation. Ino, shock, what? But I didn't. Her eyes opened as something came to her mind. Wait, if this person participated in the previous Chunin exams with us, it was in the arena. Inoichi clenched his fists because of that. Inoichi, serious, yes, in the mind of the other subject that Jiraiya-sama captured, this body was seen, but from what I saw, it was a corpse. Shio, would be, the real one is not among them. Ibiki, serious, we will force the truth out right now. Inoichi frantically wondered if that was true and if Jiraiya's message had a different meaning, but what was it? Ibiki clenched his fists as he pulled the prisoner out of his summoning and gasped with the effort. Animal path, serene, now you understand, a god will not be subjugated, let that be clear to you. They opened their eyes when they noticed that their source of information lowered his head and was not reacting. Upon seeing that, Inoichi opened his eyes and an idea came to him. Inoichi, shock, wait, I think that's. Before they could finish their conclusions, a powerful explosion scattered them and destroyed the place where they were. As they all emerged, covered in dust, they noticed a calm voice speaking quietly from the hole created by the explosion. Human path, serene, well, it's a good idea, benevolence is over, sacrifice the answers by force. Ino, shock, Shizun. The shinobi noticed how Tsunade's female disciple was in a state of shock while a man with orange hair held her by the head. At that moment, Sum and Hana, exhausted from the battle, arrived. Sum, annoyed, damn, this was strange. All it took was the black bars and it moved. Didn't Lord Jiraiya kill him? Besides, Shizun created a highway. What's going on? The leader of the Yamanaka clan clenched his fists, giving his theories more validity and relativity. Ino, panic, Shizun. When they looked up, they noticed the woman's eyes roll back as she opened her mouth and a kind of blue energy came out of the doctor's head as it was absorbed by the man. Human path, serenely, I see the Toad Mountain, but she doesn't know how to get there, looking at the Hokage tower, so that's the method. The man simply left, unceremoniously dropping the woman lifeless to the ground. Ino quickly approached the woman and opened her eyes in panic when she felt no sign of life in the woman. Ino, shock, but how is that impossible? Everyone was annoyed at not being able to do anything, and even more so that the man left without giving them any further importance. With Rias and Conan were locked in a struggle for the upper hand. Conan's cloak was already damaged, and she was annoyed because she sensed that this woman wasn't serious. She didn't know what she was trying to do, but she knew she had to watch out for those strange circles she drew. Rias smiled as she gazed at a distant hill. Rias, cheerfully, I see that tree isn't a real tree. Good. Creating a clone. Go to Hokage-sama, you know what to say to him. Conan opened her eyes and tried to destroy the clone that flew away at full speed, but the original did not allow it. Conan, would be, what are you plotting now and what was that about, how did you know? Rias, cheerfully, you told me, you didn't realize it, but I'm able to enter your mind. Thanks to that, I was able to interrupt your memories and find out the truth. Conan quickly advanced towards Rias, who dodged the attack with that sharp paper weapon while smiling. Conan, serious, you're very arrogant, smiling, since we only need to know how to get to the Toad Mountain. The redhead opened her eyes, this time annoyed. Rias, would be, how did you know that? Conan, serenely, you're not the only one who can enter the minds of your enemies, smiling. After all, they fight before God. Rias grimaced upon hearing that name, clenching her fists in anticipation of safety measures being taken at that location. Without further ado, Conan launched a large barrage of papers. Rias, stunned to hear the word God, was hit, causing damage to her clothing as well as some cuts on her body. Conan smiled when she saw how her chest was exposed. Conan, thinking, well, this is my chance. The Akatsuki woman believed that having that part of her body exposed was a problem, so she launched herself in a confident manner. Rias, seeing that, didn't pay much attention to her exposed chest and launched a black beam at one of the woman's wings. Conan fell as she lost her balance in flight, opening her eyes as a powerful kick to her face sent her crashing into a building, turning it into rubble. Rias sighed as she took an orange jacket from her partner. Rias, thinking, these human taboos are really annoying. The woman covered her exposed chest, she wanted to have something not so valuable for this fight, although she hoped her partner wouldn't be angry if she damaged this jacket. Mount Myomo-kusen. Naruto was sitting next to two of his clones while being watched by the old toad who had a smile on his lips. Pa's sad face mind, certainly this kid is something. Jiraiya-chan never managed to master this mode. Minato-chan was more skilled, but even so it took him more than 1 year to get halfway to this mode. This kid is something. Naruto, meanwhile, was having a mental conversation with a certain tenant in his mind. Naruto, annoyed, that was shit, I hope it was worth it. The powerful fox inside him smiled as he nodded. Kyubi, arrogant smile. Of course it is, I have more access to you and your mind. Don't you think I'm closer to my freedom just for a little power? Do you think it's a good deal, brat? Naruto smiled at that. Naruto, cheerfully, if I can protect the people I love, then nothing that might happen to me matters. The fox growled at him, a little annoyed by that conviction. Kyubi snorts, well, if that's what you want, I'll keep my word, but, amused, if I get a chance to escape, believe me, I'll take it. Naruto nodded seriously, watching as the fox seal took one more turn than it should. Naruto, serious, I'm aware of that, don't worry, but I'm not willing to let this go unpunished. I will defeat whoever killed my master. The fox smiled slightly as he closed his eyes with a smile on his lips. Kyubi, mind, that hatred is what I need. Come on, just one more anger and the barrier will be gone. Freedom is approaching. Inside the seal, a figure sharpened its gaze as it stared seriously at the horizon. Sad face serious, the moment is approaching, with a smile, maybe I shouldn't be happy, I really want to see you Naruto. Outside of Naruto's mind, the blonde boy opened his eyes, holding the sage mode, and noticed the old toad looking at him with a smile. Pa, cheerfully, you've surprised me, Naruto-chan. Even without our help, you're still holding on. Jiraiya-chan was right, and I can say that you're a true sage, Naruto-chan. Naruto scratched the back of his neck shyly at the praise, but despite his smile, something about him made him uneasy. Naruto, thinking, what is this happening now? I have a bad feeling. Cheerfully out loud, yes, it's true, although, curious, I haven't seen her during the day. Does anyone know where she went? Pa became curious about that, remembering that his wife was going out. Pa, calmly, now that you mention it, it's true, she went to Konoha and said she needed some tea herbs and medicine. She'll surely arrive soon. Naruto nodded, but something about him made him uneasy. Before that, a particular toad approached them in a frantic manner. Toad, serious, Pa and Naruto, it's urgent, Konoha no longer exists. The duo were speechless as Pa climbed onto Naruto's shoulder. Pa, serious, let's go. Gamabunta and Gama-ken are in that area this time. We'll go prepared, thinking, this time I won't make the same mistake as Jiraiya. Naruto nodded and ran quickly along his path. A light blue toad approached the group, followed by Chief Gamabunta and Gama-ken. Gama-goro, serious, I heard the commotion, I've gathered them all, I'll go to this fight too. He nodded as Gamakichi lifted Naruto onto his head. Gamakichi, serious, come on, after all, I am your summoning no. The blonde man smiled as he watched from above as Gamatatsu also stood beside him. Gamatatsu, cheerfully, well, let's go, I'm sure they'll have something delicious for me, right? Naruto smiled as he felt confident about what was going to happen. Naruto, cheerfully, thank you guys, I promise I won't lose. Seriously, I will avenge Jiraiya-sensei no matter what. Without further ado, the group of toads and Naruto explode into smoke, ready for the great battle that is coming. End of chapter. Part 53. Leaf Village. With Kakashi. The Jounin had a serious face, the man in front of him was someone very dangerous. Kakashi, thinking, this man was able to hold off a group of S-rank criminals. And if killing Master Jiraiya wasn't enough, I certainly shouldn't hide anything. Hokage Tower. Tsunade was focused on powering up her summoning, but suddenly she opened her eyes when a message arrived from Katsuyu. Katsuyu, solemnly, I'm sorry my lady, but there's nothing to be done about Lady Shizune and the Jounin. Kakashi was pierced through the head, I can't do anything. Tsunade, serenely, I see. The woman calmly approached a pillar of the tower, gathering a large amount of chakra, damn it. With a powerful punch, the woman destroyed a cement column, turning it to dust. The Anbu clenched their fists behind their masks, wanting to help with this problem. The female Sannin noticed a red armor approaching at high speed and quickly realized it was one of her shinobi. Chuji, serious, Tsunade-sama, we must find the original. Kakashi-sensei deduced that the six are just controlled puppets and assured that this will happen. Tsunade, would be, good job, but, before she could say anything, a head of red hair landed with tears in its eyes upon seeing what happened to its silver-haired sensei. Rias, would be, I am a clone of the original is in the tallest tree on the south hill, this is a fake paper tree. Tsunade, would be, the original is in a fight, right? Where should I send reinforcements for her? Rias, shaking his head, it's not necessary but. It stopped when the clone intervened in a surprise attack, dissipating in the process. Upon seeing this, Tsunade clenched her fists, knowing that Rias was strong. She relaxed, but still didn't know what enemy she was facing, but she trusted her student. Sad face serious, I see you already know, there's no point, tell me how I get to Mount Myomo-kusan. Tsunade opened her eyes at that. Tsunade, serious, what do you mean? I have no idea, but you. The woman started out angry, then a look of recognition came to her as she put a name to that subject. Yahiko, calmly, if I extracted that woman's memories in the hospital, unfortunately her soul came with them, so it also left, but don't worry, it was surely for the best after all, even though without knowing it she collaborated with God. Tsunade looked annoyed at this boy, knowing that her student had fallen into the hands of this man. Tsunade, would be, then tell me what happened with the boy from that day, you're nothing like what happened to you that time. Yahiko, calmly, several things in the Reign Adela, Hanzo of the Salamander and many more damages, sharpening his gaze, I do not forget how Danzo Shimura allied himself with Hanzo of the Salamander. They with Leaf Shinobi killed several of our peace organization. After that those of us who remained decided to show the true pain. Upon hearing that, Tsunade clenched her teeth and fists. Tsunade, thinking, what the hell did that bag of excrement get us into? Out loud. So you blame the actions of one idiot by taking it out on innocent people. Yahiko, calmly, now that you mention it, I haven't seen that old man. Do you want to make him come out, or I'll look for him myself? Tsunade, snorts, believe me, I wouldn't mind if you wanted revenge, but some time ago several of your acts of betrayal were discovered, in addition to your idea of taking the village by force, and Naruto along with Rias ended up killing Danzo Shimura. Yahiko got angry about that. Yahiko, annoyed, I see, so the Jinchuriki, looking at the horizon, perhaps Conan is not an opponent for her. Tsunade, would be, putting that aside, why are you asking that right now? I know this isn't your main focus, or am I mistaken? When the man shook his head and clenched his fists, it was a little naive of him to believe that he would leave upon hearing of Danzo's death. Yahiko, serious, it was a secondary approach, although it's a bit disappointing, but peace will come through pain. Only with the 9 bijus will it be achieved. There will only be understanding when everyone feels true pain. Tsunade, annoyed, you think the villages haven't suffered pain? You're not the only one who suffers. It's unfortunate, but Konoha wasn't the only one involved in the conflicts of those times. Yahiko sharpened his annoyed gaze at the Hokage's words, he simply became angry at that comment. Yahiko, serious, so causing pain and suffering because of your mistakes, rising, will only be collateral damage. Tsunade clenched her fists as the man began to rise. Swanda, annoyed, pain, come back, what the hell do you think you're doing? The woman began to run after the man who was quickly disappearing into the incandescent sunlight. Ambu, serious, my lady, what are your orders? Do you think she left? The woman clenched her fists as she shook her head. Tsunade, serious, that's unlikely, he's planning something, let's be vigilant. Looking at a slug on her shoulder, Katsuyu protects everyone. Thinking, this isn't good. Rias versus Conan. Rias had taken advantage of every move in this encounter. She had the advantage since the Akatsuki woman was the more worn out of the two, but suddenly Rias opened her eyes and turned her gaze towards the village. Conan, thinking, this is my chance. The woman lunged forward, quickly creating paper blades. Just as it seemed her attack was effective, Rias's serious and focused expression changed to an angrier one, while tears were visible in the corners of her eyes. Rias, whispered, Kakashi-sensei, would be, you will pay for this. Rias concentrated a large amount of energy while this time Conan's papers had no effect as the girl's aura evaporated them before they could be a threat. Conan, thinking, damn, this is bad. How can this brat be so skilled? It doesn't surprise me that she and the Jinchuriki almost wiped out everyone who tried to capture her. The woman didn't know what to do in the face of those black rays. She was already at a disadvantage, and now with that black energy surrounding her, it was something she had never seen before, and she didn't know what she could do about it. Conan opened her eyes slightly as she noticed one of Pain's paths rising, and her lip piercing felt a small surge of energy as it soon appeared near the remaining 5 paths. Animal path, calmly, Conan, your fight wasn't what we expected, from what I can see. The woman gasped from exhaustion and saw, it must be the one I was talking to. Conan, tired, that girl isn't normal, Nagato. If the reports are true, I can't imagine how strong the Jinchuriki is. I think, animal walk, serious, Conan, you are talking to God, I will use that technique, the true pain will be felt by this village. After saying that, the woman sat down on the floor panting from the effort as the 6 bodies fell lifeless to the ground. Conan, thinking, I hope this doesn't get out of hand. With Rias, the redhead clenched her fists in annoyance as she watched the woman disappear. Before she could do anything else, she shook herself. Rias, would be, I shouldn't do something, maybe I still have a chance. The woman flew quickly towards where her silver-haired master had fought. Seeing her master crushed by rubble with a hole in his forehead, she clenched her fists. Then she noticed a slug covering him, and several other slugs doing the same to the shinobi in the village. Curious and unsure of what was happening, she sensed a great concentration of energy in the sky. Focusing more intently, and thanks to her demonic eyes, she clearly saw a man in the sky concentrating immense power. Rias, in a panic, what the heck, what should I do? The woman was conflicted, she didn't know what to do. That amount of energy was enough to completely destroy the village. She saw the village, many shinobi were still in the Adela, with a considerable number of shinobi, but the largest number of people were in the Hokage headquarters. She remembered Naruto telling her that in case of emergency, those places functioned as shelters in case of an attack. Before she could say anything, she heard Tsunade. Tsunade, would be, what are you planning, Pain? Come back, what are you doing? Rias was conflicted, but seeing how the Senju woman activated her forehead seal and noticing how the slug grew in strength while those who were not yet in the shelters were safe, she remembered something her teacher had told her during her training with Tsunade. Flashback. Tsunade and Rias were with some books on the desk while they looked for something, and Rias raised an eyebrow when she read something curious. Rias, curious, wait Tsunade-sama, when were there conflicts with Gara-sama's village? Shizun, who had brought some papers, nodded in agreement with what had been said. Shizun, sighs, yes, it was a while ago in the Chunin exams that Naruto-kun participated in the first one. We don't know many details, but Orochimaru was the one who tricked and killed his leader, and he was also the cause of the death of Sandim-sama. Tsunade, serene, yes, after that I was appointed Hokage, and thanks to Naruto and the fight he had with Gaara, at that time the friendship began. After that, we implemented the security and evacuation measures for wars again. Rias, curious, Naru did tell me something like that, but he said that when I rose to Chunin, my duties are to fight and repel the enemy. Tsunade nodded as she stood up from her seat and looked at the faces of the Hokage, more specifically that of her master and grandfather. Tsunade, serenely, yes, in this village there are several bunkers located in the towers and on the faces of the Hokage. The Genin and Anbu are in charge of them. While the Genin guide all the civilians, they are in charge of protection. When a group of Anbu arrives, they are the last line of defense, while the rest of the shinobi, such as the Chunin and Jonin, go on the offensive to repel the enemy from the village. Rias, who was paying attention to the story, read the book in her hands, noting some details of a conflict that helped those two villages form an alliance, in addition to her partner's friendship with the current Kazekage. Rias, thinking, so the most vulnerable are in those shelters. End of flashback. Rias clenched her fists, looking at the faces of the previous Hokage, and a tear slid from her eyes as she looked away. Rias, sadly, I'm sorry crying face. Rias quickly took flight with sadness in her heart. Upon arriving, she noticed the amount of energy increasing. She concentrated almost all of her demonic energy, successfully creating a large shield that protected the shelters where all the civilians and genin were taking refuge. She gritted her teeth at the great effort, as not a second later, a strong, invisible pressure hit her, causing her shield to suffer some damage from the immense force of that palpable energy. The shinobi in the village were curious when suddenly the enemy vanished without a trace, causing great relief among the shinobi population. Although curious and somewhat fearful, they were suddenly trapped inside the slug's body without warning. A bright red light flashed from the sky, and they didn't know what had happened. In a matter of seconds, a powerful energy blast struck the village, destroying buildings and everything in its path, leaving a large crater in the center of the Hidden Leaf village. Rias, for her part, clenched her teeth. That blow was more than she expected. She expelled all her demonic energy to endure it. She had noticed how most of that energy was directed towards the shelters and the part where the most vulnerable part of the village was located. Pain smiled inwardly as he rose into the air. He had concentrated the energy of the 6 paths along with some of his own life force. From the air, he squinted as he noticed a red light slowly dissipating and began his descent, expecting to see the great destruction. He did notice a large crater, but clenched his fists when he saw that the shelter where he had concentrated the bulk of his attack was completely undamaged. He noticed the number of living beings; they were mostly civilians. In the distance, he pressed his lips together; he had spent a lot of his energy. He saw the one responsible for this and quickly lunged at Rias, noticing how the girl, drained of almost all her demonic energy reserves, began a rapid descent. Rias panicked when she saw the man approaching her from the air. Rias, thinking, "Shit, damn it. Come on, move it, I have to." The man was inches away from grabbing her by the neck when a loud burst of smoke made him see into the distance, which was enough when a fist crashed into his face, sending him flying and saving Rias. Rias, who was plummeting from exhaustion, opened one of her eyes, noticing how she stopped plummeting as she was picked up bridal style. Sad face cheerfully, "You know, even though you know how to fly, you like falling from very high places." Upon hearing that voice, Rias felt relief within her and slowly opened her eyes, relaxing almost instantly as she recognized the warmth she had grown accustomed to long ago. However, her partner's appearance was somewhat different. The boy, who had previously displayed a happy expression and overflowing joy, became serious in a matter of seconds as he looked around with a grave expression in his yellow eyes with a black bar for a pupil, his red cape a testament to their seriousness as they landed. Rias quickly noticed they were no longer on the ground. Rias, tired, "If Naruto-kun is in this situation, unfortunately I haven't been able to do much." The blonde man who saw the village erupting a large crater nodded and gave his partner a reassuring smile. Naruto, reassuringly, "Relax, you did a lot, seeing the Hokage's faces, that's enough." The blonde man smiled as he saw Rias calmer as she breathed softly. The expenditure of chakra and the draining of almost all her demonic energy made her close her eyes. The blonde man knew she wasn't asleep yet, so he quickly stood on Gemikichi's head, looking seriously at the village. The blonde man concentrated on the energies, which were now sharper with sage mode. He just pursed his lips when he didn't sense some familiar presences. Pain, for his part, after that blow, stood at a distance close to the blonde man. He was annoyed to see that his great attack had only caused material damage thanks to that red-haired brat. The man already sent energy to his 6 paths, causing the whole group to head to the place of the imminent battle. Naruto stared seriously at the man who was looking at him from the great crater that used to be his village. They both looked into each other's eyes, knowing what would follow next. Before the battle between the two began, a tired-looking Tsunade stood in front of Pain. "Tsunade, would be, I will stop you," panting, "It is my duty as the 5th Hokage." Pain looked at her indifferently as the Azura path quickly created a kind of saw on his back while boosters appeared on his feet as he quickly launched himself towards a tired Tsunade. Pain, calmly, "You're not important, my affairs are." Not even a second later, Naruto appeared in front of Tsunade, and with a precise surprise attack to the back of the Azura path, it was enough to destroy it. The blonde didn't give much importance to the destroyed path as he looked into the eyes of the Deva path in Yahiko's body. "Naruto, calmly, with me, right?" Tsunade, having lost the adrenaline in her system, fell to the ground, but when she looked up she was surprised. The Senju woman saw the shadow of her now deceased teammate as well as her predecessor who had the same hair. Tsunade, thinking, "He looks more mature than I remember." Naruto, calmly, "Grandma, I can't sense Kakashi-sensei or Shizen around here. Did they go on a mission?" Senses Tsunade, he nods, "I understand. You can rest now. We'll take care of it from now on." Tsunade, tired, "It's for the best, I can't do anything more at this moment," pulling a slug out of her sleeve, "Take Katsuya with you, she can explain the situation." At that moment, Pa, who was on Naruto's shoulder, jumped up and grabbed the slug. "Pa, serious, come on, this will be violent, come hide in Naruto-chan's pocket." The slug quickly went into Naruto's pocket so it could do something in this battle. Naruto, calmly, "Kichi, take Granny and Rias to a safe place. We'll take care of it from here." The toad nodded and took the Senju woman who was looking at the blonde man with some concern. Pain, calmly, "You think it will be that easy?" Animal path, serene, summoning jutsu. A large cloud of smoke appeared from the place and 2 three-headed dogs appeared, in addition to 2 rhinoceroses accompanied by 2 giant centipedes. Before reaching the toad that carried the women, he cut the dog in half with a sword. Bunta, serious, hurry up and secure them. Kichi, serious, yeah, good luck. Bunta said nothing more upon hearing 2 barks and growled upon seeing that the dog had split and was now 2. Bunta, annoyed, damn, how annoying. Seeing how the 3 great warrior toads were fighting with the summons, Naruto lunged towards Pain. The animal path ordered the rhinos to charge at Naruto. The blonde didn't even flinch as he watched the 2 great beasts stampede towards him. Naruto, serious, Kage Bunshin. The blonde man created 2 clones and they created 2 large Raisengans. The blonde man quickly left his clones while he jumped. The rhinos saw the blonde man in the air, which was enough for the 3 clones to hit the creatures with the Rasengan, sending them far away. With Sakura, the pink-haired girl watched in shock the great destruction. She opened her eyes to what had happened and felt powerless as it all unfolded before her. She hadn't been able to do anything to stop the destruction, she only saw her blonde friend arrive and stand fearlessly in front of that powerful enemy. Sakura, thinking, Naruto, you are our last hope. At that moment, several of his friends arrived. These were Team 10 and what remained of Team 8 along with Sai. Shikamaru had been injured in the explosion, but he still calmly took command when he saw how tense and agitated his friends were. Shika, serious, they're all fine, they don't have any serious injuries. Ino, still upset, we're fine, in fact, you're the only one hurt. Shika, sighs, calm down, looking at the village, compared to what happened, I'm fine. Chuji, sadly, even so, we have lost many today. Sai, calmly, that's true, and the enemy still has energy, but I came from the shelters. Apparently, there is no damage to the population. In fact, according to the information from the unit I was assigned, the only damage is to the village structure. That was a great relief to everyone. Shino, calmly, indeed, it's true. Thanks to Hinata and her orders to the Hyuga clan, several were found buried in rubble, and according to the count, there weren't many civilian losses. Hinata blushed at the compliments directed at her. Ino, sadly, so this is the threat level. I can't imagine one person fighting him alone. The entire group of rookies nodded, watching their blonde friend charge at the enemy, powerless, knowing that if they approached, they would be nothing more than a burden at this moment. They were thinking about what they could do, but suddenly a large toad landed near them, leaving Tsunade and Rias lying on the ground. Gamakichi, serious, Naruto sent me, you must put them in a safe place, both of them used up a lot of their energy. Sakura quickly approached her teacher, and Rias was shocked to see the state of both women. Sakura, shock, sensei's seal, she spent so much energy protecting the shinobi. Sai, serious, I'm not surprised. Rias created that great shield. Without it, the Leaf Village would be nothing right now. This surprised everyone, and upon closer inspection, they noticed the large faces of the Hokage, the locations of the shelters, and the Hokage Tower. Therefore, all the important documents had been saved. Shika, Sai, thanks to her, the Leaf Village is not completely lost. Everyone nodded in surprise, because without their documents and without villagers, the Leaf Village would simply cease to exist. Everyone saw that, but they were unaware that someone was having a little chatter in their mind. Rias's mental space. Rias was curious. She had lost consciousness a while ago, the expenditure of energy had already taken its toll. The last thing she remembered was the arrival of her partner and how he had rescued her and brought her to safety, although she was on guard because she didn't know where she had gone. Rias, would be, what's happening here where I am? The girl raised an eyebrow and relaxed a little upon hearing a familiar voice. Sad face cheerfully, don't worry, it's nothing bad. It's been a while now. Even though I helped you get the message home, I didn't expect this encounter to escalate to this point, and I apologize for that. I want to tell you that. Rias smiled slightly and interrupted the kind voice. Rias, cheerfully, relax, you don't need to apologize for this. I'm fine, and thanks to this, I'm happy. I've met Naruto, who is the best and most important thing in my life, and I can't imagine moving forward with anyone else. The voice laughed a little and hummed a little. Sad face cheerfully, I see, I'm glad you're happy now, even if it's far from home. Thanks to that, I'll give you a gift. Sighs, don't be angry about this, it will be quick since there's still one last thing I have to do, so from now on I wish you luck and the next time you see me it will be me and the last time you're well. Rias opened her eyes, but before that she noticed as if her demonic energy had partially recovered and her body was surrounded by it. In the real world, the rookies opened their eyes and quickly moved away when Rias expelled her energy, knowing it wouldn't be nice if it touched them, although they noticed how that energy didn't harm anything, and suddenly a magic circle appeared and a strange creature appeared. The shinobi were on high alert at the creature, which seemed confused, but upon seeing Rias, it quickly transformed into a woman in red gothic attire with bat wings on her head. The woman approached Rias swiftly and pulled a bottle from her clothing. The shinobi were about to react, but they were slow to do anything as the woman slightly opened Rias's mouth and poured in the liquid, which Rias swallowed. In a matter of seconds, a green aura enveloped her, and the few wounds on the redhead healed, and the girl opened her eyes. Rias, shock, but how? Before she could finish her sentence, she was enveloped in a hug. The redhead was confident seeing how her new friends were standing with their mouths open. Then a burst of smoke made her open her eyes as she saw her family member in front of her. Rias, cheerfully, how are you? I've missed you. The boys were startled to see Rias happy, though still curious about what was happening. Sakura, shock, Rias, what's going on here? The redhead smiled as she held her relative to her chest. Rias, cheerfully, it's my familiar, it's like the summons in Naruto Conan but it's from my world. The shinobi nodded, though curious about what that did. Ino, with a smile, well, I think it's better than a toad. Gamakichi was offended by that. Rias laughed a little but then opened her eyes. Rias, sadly, I understand, so you can't stay. The boys were curious, they hadn't heard anything. Shika, curious, something happened. Rias, with a sad smile, something about family members not speaking is that they only have a telepathic connection. It's to ensure the messages are more secure. She just told me she doesn't have much energy, so she'll be back soon, and she doesn't know if she'll be able to return. Rias's eyes widened at that. Wait, could it be? She stopped when she heard something inside. Ino, curious, something's wrong. Rias just shook herself and sighed at that. Rias, sighs, so this is what he meant. Well, I guess my pride isn't that important right now. The boys were confused by the redhead girl's strange talk. Rias, sighs, well, tell Oni-sama that I'm fine and that I'll be fine. I appreciate this gift, it will be very useful. Thank you. Everyone raised an eyebrow as a small suitcase appeared in Rias's hands. She noticed there were 4 bottles inside, took one, and approached Tsunade. Sakura, curious, Rias, that's what it is. Rias, would be, there were 5 phoenix tears, one I used on myself, sigh, it's just a lack of energy but the village cannot be without a leader. The boys watched in disbelief as the redhead opened another of those small bottles and approached Tsunade. As she poured the liquid, the blonde woman grunted a little, but in a matter of seconds she woke up. Tsunade, shock, wait, but What happened? Rias, sighs, it's a long story, I'll explain it later, there were only 3 left. Sakura, would be, wait, if you have 3, maybe there are people. Rias, would be, no, everyone looked at her, I understand your feelings but for this not to be a waste the receiver must still be alive, looking sadly at the village, in that place there are only corpses and I only have 3. Tsunade was surprised by that and sighed, knowing that the girl would talk to her later. She noticed how some were upset and wanted to say something, but she stopped them. Tsunade, would be, I know you feel powerless knowing it's a possibility, but you must also keep in mind that such a valuable resource cannot be wasted. They all shuddered and simply lowered their heads at that, knowing it was true and it was just their selfishness talking. Rias sighed and held back her tears. Phoenix was in one of her dimensions and felt her familiar flying close to her. Rias, with a sad smile, thank you for that and tell everyone I'm okay, not to worry and thank you for everything you've done for me. I promise to do my best. Tell everyone I'll be happy. The bat-like creature nodded and after a moment approached Rias, who hugged him, and before saying anything else, he slowly retreated behind a small magic circle. Upon seeing this, Tsunade simply placed a hand on the red-haired girl's shoulder, noticing Rias's sadness. Tsunade, would be, I know it's hard but now is not the time, we must be vigilant now. Rias shook off the negative and nostalgic thoughts when a loud explosion echoed in the distance. Rias, would be, It's true, I must concentrate my energy, I must help when I can, clenching her fists, maybe if I go now I'll just be a hindrance. Tsunade nodded calmly. She needed to be attentive, and although it was annoying, at this moment it was better to leave Naruto alone. If he had to fight, he couldn't concentrate on protecting them, they would only be a burden, and they couldn't afford that. Just then, a group of Umbu appeared near Tsunade. Ambu, calmly, "Ma'am, what are your orders at this time?" "The medical team is on its way, is that okay?" Tsunade would be, "Go to the surrounding area accompanied by 2 Ambu, recover the bodies, and if there are any undetected survivors, give them medical attention. Also, I want a report of what happened since the enemy arrived." The Ambu nodded as the 2 behind the captain went to carry out their leader's orders, and the last one gave his report. Rias watched from afar with one of those small ballots in his hand. Rias would be, "Good luck, Naruto-kun." Without further ado, everyone expected the blonde man to emerge victorious in this fight. End of chapter.